China's story begins long before chronicles were etched onto bamboo strips, long before emperors carved their mandates into stone, long before cities rose from river valleys. Its roots stretch deep into the Neolithic mist where early communities settled along the fertile banks of the Yellow River, learning to tame the floods, plant millet, carve bone tools, and kindle the first sparks of a civilization that would one day shape the world. From these embryonic societies emerged the legendary Xia dynasty, half history, half myth, whose rulers, like the enigmatic Yu the Great, were remembered for mastering waters and founding the dynastic cycle itself, followed by the Shang, whose bronze vessels, oracle bones, chariot warfare, and ancestor cult transformed scattered tribes into a centralized kingdom pulsing with ritual power, until the Zhou rose against them, invoking the mandate of heaven, a political and spiritual force declaring that rulers governed not by blood alone, but by cosmic virtue, a belief that would define Chinese politics for over 3 millennia. And under the Zhou, China entered its philosophical golden age, a time when the world fractured into competing states yet paradoxically birthed the greatest minds of the ancient world: Confucius, preaching moral order and filial piety; Laozi, whispering the mysteries of the Tao; Mozi, championing universal love; Sun Tzu, crafting strategies of war that commanders study even today. And as the land descended into the brutal, unrelenting conflict of the Warring States period, 7 great powers battled for supremacy until one Qin rose under the iron-willed leadership of Ying Zheng, who crushed rivals, unified scripts, coins, laws, measures, and became Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, erecting the earliest form of the Great Wall, building massive roads radiating from the capital, and commanding the creation of an army of terracotta warriors to guard him in death. Yet his dynasty collapsed almost as swiftly as it formed, but from its ashes emerged the Han, a dynasty that forged China's political identity and cultural foundation, expanded its borders through epic campaigns against the Xiongnu, opened the Silk Road across Central Asia, sending silk, lacquer, and ideas westward, receiving horses, religions, and knowledge in return. During Han times, paper was invented, Confucianism became state doctrine, and China entered one of its first golden epochs before fracturing again into the chaos of the Three Kingdoms, where warlords like Cao, Liu Bei, and Sun Quan clashed in a saga immortalized in legend, leading to centuries of fragmentation through the Jin, the northern and southern dynasties, and the age of nomadic kingdoms, until China was reunified by the Sui, whose short but transformative reign rebuilt canals and administrative systems, paving the way for the Tang, one of the most dazzling empires in world history, a cosmopolitan powerhouse where poetry reached divine heights. Through Li Bai and Du Fu, where Chang'an became a global capital of trade, culture, religion, and luxury, where Buddhism flourished, scholars blossomed, and armies marched from Korea to Central Asia, before rebellion and court intrigue weakened the dynasty, ushering in the Song, a dynasty of innovation rather than conquest, where gunpowder was weaponized, printing revolutionized knowledge, compasses guided ships across oceans, and Chinese culture soared in painting, philosophy, commerce, and urbanization. Though plagued by powerful nomadic neighbors like the Khitan Liao, the Tangut Western Xia, the Jurchen Jin, and ultimately the Mongols, whose ferocious expansion under Genghis Khan reshaped the world and whose descendant, Kublai Khan, conquered the Song and founded the Yuan dynasty, ruling a vast multicultural empire that unified Eurasian trade networks, welcomed Marco Polo, and bridged China with distant lands but struggled with internal tensions, natural disasters, and the resistance of the Han population, giving rise to Zhu Yuanzhang, a rebel monk who expelled the Mongols and founded the Ming dynasty, a regime defined by strong centralization, maritime exploration under Zheng He's grand fleets that reached as far as Africa, massive reconstruction of the Great Wall into the iconic brick structure known today, the flourishing of porcelain, literature, and architecture, and a vibrant economy, yet weakened over time by corruption, eunuch factions, fiscal strain, famine, and the encirclement of growing Manchu power in the northeast, culminating in the fall of Beijing and the rise of the Qing, China's last imperial dynasty, founded by the Manchus, who expanded the empire to its greatest territorial extent, conquering Tibet, Mongolia, Xinjiang, Taiwan while presiding over population booms, agricultural advances, and cultural achievements, especially under emperors Kangxi, Yongzheng, and Qianlong, but the 18th and 19th centuries brought unprecedented challenges, internal rebellions like the White Lotus and Taiping, external pressures from European powers, and humiliations in the Opium Wars that carved open China's ports, shattered illusions of superiority, and triggered a painful century of decline known as the Century of Humiliation, during which treaties were forced upon China, territories were lost, the Qing struggled to modernize, reform movements clashed with conservative forces, the Boxer Uprising erupted, and intellectuals called urgently for change, leading to the 1911 revolution, the abdication of the last Emperor Puyi, and the birth of the Republic of China under Sun Yat-sen, whose vision of nationalism, democracy, and livelihood set the ideological stage for the struggles to come. Yet the young republic fractured under warlordism, competing visions, and the escalating rivalry between the nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek and the communists under Mao Zedong, a conflict shaped further by the Japanese invasion in the 1930s, the brutal Second Sino-Japanese War, part of World War II where millions perished, cities burned, and China became a principal battlefield of the Pacific Theater, and after Japan's defeat, civil war resumed, ending with the Communist victory in 1949 and the establishment of the People's Republic of China, while the nationalists retreated to Taiwan. Mao's China brought dramatic transformations: land reform, the suppression of old elites, the Great Leap Forward with its disastrous famines, and the Cultural Revolution, a decade of political chaos, purges, and ideological upheaval that tore communities apart and reshaped Chinese identity until Mao's death in 1976 opened the door for Deng Xiaoping, whose pragmatic reforms shifted China from rigid central planning to a hybrid socialist market system, unleashing decades of explosive economic growth, urbanization, technological advancement, and global integration, transforming China from a rural, impoverished nation into one of the world's leading economic superpowers, marked by rising cities of steel and glass, high-speed rail networks, digital revolutions, expanding global influence, and a population navigating the complexities of modernization, tradition, nationalism, and the challenges of the 21st century, from environmental pressures to geopolitical tensions to rapid innovation in space, technology, and infrastructure, and today, China stands as a nation shaped by 5,000 years of dynasties, philosophies, emperors, wars, inventions, famines, reforms, and revolutions. Its history a vast, unbroken chain of continuity and transformation, where ancient traditions coexist with futuristic ambition, where the echoes of Confucius and the strategies of Sun Tzu still inform modern decisions, where the Silk Road has re-emerged in the Belt and Road Initiative, and where a civilization forged in rivers, fields, palaces, battlefields, courts, and marketplaces continues to evolve, reminding the world that China is not merely a country but a civilization state, vast, complex, resilient, and enduring, its story one of the greatest epics ever written by human hands, a journey from mythic kings to global power, from oracle bones to satellites, from bronze vessels to microchips, from ancient dynasties to modern skyscrapers, from cycles of rise and fall to cycles of reinvention, an unbroken river of history flowing from the distant past into the unfolding future.